Friends, at this time we are going to begin the funeral services for Elaine L Bell. If you have a cell phone or a pager, I would ask for you to please take a moment to turn it off or place it in the silent mode. And officiating today's services will be Rabbi Paul Cohen from Temple Jeremiah in Northfield.
We gather this afternoon to pay a lasting tribute of love to the life, to the love of Elaine Bell. Elaine lived a very long life, a wonderful life. And it wasn't the length of her days, although they certainly were long indeed, but the way that she chose to fill the time that she had with family and with friends. Time that she spent filled with love and support and strength, which is a tremendous part of her legacy to all who are privileged to be touched by the light of her life. And so I'd like to continue this really a celebration of Elaine's life with a poem, a favorite of mine, written by Merritt Malloy that I think applies so beautifully to Elaine, to the values that she taught, certainly by word, but even more importantly, by deed, the way that she lived her life. The poem is called Epitaph. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known and loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live on your eyes and not on your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love does not die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. Death has indeed taken our beloved Elaine. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is lamentation. In their tears, there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Elaine's love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues now through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. In this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures that brings us the ever new message of God's nearness. It tells of our kinship with the Creator, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Psalm 23, the Shepherd's Psalm. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, Bihino teshe yarbitzeni, al me menuchot, yenaleni. Nafshi yeshoved, yancheni v'magle tzedek, yancheni v'magle tzedek, למען שמו, גם כי אלך בגץ על מוות, לא ירא רע, כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני. Taharoch lefanai, Shulchan Negetorerai, Dishanta Vashem Roshi, Kosi Revaya, Ach Tov Chesed Yirdefuni, Kol Yemei Chayai, Kol Yemei Chayai, Veshavti Bevet Adonai Leorech Yamim. Adonai Roi Lo Echsar, Adonai Roi Lo Echsar. You can find the translation of the 23rd Psalm in the pamphlet we received here at the chapel, and I invite you, if you wish, to join with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. As I had the great privilege of learning more about Elaine's life through the words of her family, one of the phrases that was used to describe her really struck a chord. It was, she was a true woman of valor. And these words resonate in scripture and are actually words that a husband can pronounce as a blessing upon his wife at the Friday evening table, welcoming Shabbat, and part of the blessings that are shared around the table. A woman of valor who can find, she is more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm, all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She is clothed in strength and dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband sings her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you excel them all. In his sorrow, Job cried out, Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevorach. God has given and God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. An ancient people, we are well acquainted with grief and the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us, yet the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave and that there is strength in faith. With Job, we say, Adonai natan, God, you have given. You gave us a loved one, Elaine Bell, who will not be forgotten. For all that was good and enduring in her life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Adonai lakach, God, you have taken away. We pray for the strength to turn our broken hearts into an altar of trust before which we acknowledge your sovereignty and your love. As we now say, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach, blessed be the name of God, now and forever. Amen. I invite you to take these next few moments to call forward the cherished memories that each of you has of Elaine's life and how her love touched each of our hearts in this moment of silent reflection. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. Be acceptable in your sight. God, our rock and our redeemer. God, our rock and our redeemer. Amen. Our tradition teaches us that words that come from the heart go straight to the heart. And so it is only fitting that we continue this tribute of love, this celebration of Elaine's life with the words of her family. We're going to hear first from her children, Andy and Judy, and then from grandchildren, Ben, Daniel, Michael, and Laura, and great-grandchildren, Hannah, Olivia, Maddie, and Emma.
Now you all know that I am the oldest of all these people. I am Andy, and I am the oldest daughter of Elaine, one of the most marvelous people ever. I once saw a saying that was embroidered on a pillow. It said, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, I've become my mother after all." And I started thinking about who my mother really was. With mom and dad, family always came first. I felt that there was always love in our home, and that love grew to include husbands, grandchildren, grandchildren's spouses, and of course, the great grandchildren. My mom loved life and all the people surrounding her. She saw the good in people and believed wholeheartedly in second, third, fourth, and even more chances. I went out on a date with my husband, and I came back and she said, "How was it?" This was when I was a sophomore in high school. And I said, "It was okay. I don't know if I'm going to go again." And she said, "That's not fair. You have to give him a chance." Boy, she was really right. My mom had a cup that was not just half full, it was overflowing. She loved people and people loved her. Mom cared about everyone she met and made them feel like they were the most important person ever. Once when I was in high school, I came home from a date and found one of my friends sitting at the kitchen table talking with my mom. Apparently, my friend had called my house to talk to me, and mom told her I was out. My friend asked if she could come over anyway. And this incident was not the first time something like this had happened, nor would it be the last. She had one of the most positive outlooks on life I have ever seen. Mom was always sharing stories about her happy childhood. She felt she was so lucky. But my mother was not always lucky. She was diagnosed with macular degeneration. I remember flying to South Carolina with her to see a specialist who might have been able to save her eye. Sadly, he could not. We flew home. We all cried. And the next day she was up and ready to deal with what would come next. Wherever my mom would go, people would want to be near her. She spent her 100 years loving others and being loved. We were all blessed to have her for so long. She will be missed. So, mirror, mirror on the wall, if I become my mother after all, it will be my gift.
Elaine Bell wore many different hats in her 100 trips around the sun. She was a daughter, a sibling, a student, a teacher, a wife, a friend, an aunt, but more importantly, she was my mother. There was a special bond between us, one that developed, changed, shifted with each passing year. When I was a teenager, I knew everything. Sound familiar? But as I became an adult, I realized how incredibly smart, wise, and special this woman truly was. She was quiet, gentle, but always got her point across. I remember having a difficult time adjusting to university living. I was 18, far away, and in a field that was relatively isolating, marine biology. I spent most of my time in labs on my own, researching. Finding my group of friends was a daunting task. I must have spent enough money on phone calls that first semester to be able to have flown home every month. We mailed each other letters. Some of you have no idea what I'm talking about. And by the way, we didn't have cell phones either. But I do remember something my mother sent me that I still have, cherish, and actually sent to my daughter. She wrote, "The right people will find you. They will speak to you differently. They will inspire you. They will motivate you. They will help you heal, help you learn new things about yourself. Discover the deeper parts within. The right people will do this to you. They will make you feel at home. And you will never have to worry about them saying goodbye. You will know who they are." These words were what I needed at that moment. My mother had the uncanny knack of knowing what was needed. She always made me feel at home. I have definitely inherited several things from my mother. She only knew a couple of words of several songs and kept repeating them as if that would jog her memory to remember the other lyrics of the song. But to no avail. It was always 5 or 6 words followed by deedle diddle dum. I am proud to say that I too have this ability to only learn a line or two of a song, much to the chagrin of my family. My mother could not remember the punchline of any joke. Seriously, not a one. She would start the joke, and somewhere in the middle of the story, she would announce, "Wait, that wasn't it." And begin again, only to get to the same place, declare the same words, and then add, "Well, it really was a good joke." To this day, I've never heard a complete joke from my mom. Whenever our family gathered to celebrate a holiday or special occasion, my mother would say, "Judy, your table looks lovely as always." Now, you might be thinking that this was such a sweet comment to make. which it absolutely was, except for the fact that she said it even when she became blind. Truly, I loved hearing it even if I was using paper goods. This was her connection to me. When I was teaching in Lincolnwood, every year on my birthday, both my mom and dad would drive to the school, have the office notify me that they were there, and then as I walked in, presented me with a beautiful bouquet of flowers every year. I really missed that special moment when it became too difficult for them to get there. There are memories that I recall of my sister, my mom, and me washing and drying dishes and singing, harmonizing, and laughing. I'm not sure if the dishes got cleaned or my mother had to rewash them, but I actually looked forward to those moments. We had an ongoing family joke that I began with my father. I would whisper in his ear, "I'm your favorite, right?" All he would do is smile and laugh. I moved on to my mother in hopes that I could secure the correct response. "I'm your favorite, right?" I whispered. My mother, being the diplomat that she was and never playing favorites, simply smiled. My niece began to pick up the mantra, as did my children. But deep down, I knew. She cherished her family, friends, and especially her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She and my dad were always the first ones at a sporting event, a play, or musical, or graduation for their grandchildren. I do mean the first ones. They would show up at least an hour early to events where even the players or cast members had not yet arrived. They would wait patiently in the lobby or on the bleachers until the event began. It never mattered if I told them that their seats were reserved and they didn't need to get there quite so early. It was their thing to be first and in line when the event began. When her grandson or granddaughter appeared, my mom would proudly mention to anyone listening, "That girl that made that point, that's my granddaughter." Or, "That boy over there in the blue shirt, that's my grandson." To say that my mom was proud of her legacy is truly an understatement. Having grandchildren of my own, I now understand what Cavell means and how it feels. Elaine Bell was a mother to many of my friends. They would come over to sit and talk with her and to ask her for advice. When I was away at college, the boy I had dated in high school dropped in to just say hi, and of course, ask my mom for guidance, which she freely gave. I always thought this was such a bother for her, especially because we weren't even dating anymore. But she quietly smiled and said, "It's what he needed at that moment." I must have rolled my eyes or said something because she looked at me, took my hand and said, "You'll understand this later." And you know what? I do. I really do understand the need for people to connect with one another, to be present with one another. My mother had that gift of making everyone feel welcomed, wanted, loved, and special. She was a gift to so many. There is never enough time, never enough hugs, never enough I love yous, never enough moments. We were blessed to have our mom, our Nana, for so many years. Her presence will truly be missed by all. Zikrana Livracha, may her memory be a blessing. These past several days have been ones of reflections, memories, tears, laughter, and gratitude. I have been blessed to have chosen wisely. It's ironic that yesterday was Mother's Day. Mom, you are my favorite mother. I love you to the moon and back.
I was Nana's favorite grandchild. You may hear from my brother or my cousins that they believe they were her favorite grandchild, but don't be fooled. Although she would never confirm it to anyone, I know in my heart it was me because of how she loved me. If all the wonderful parts of loving others and being loved were personified, it would look like my Nana. Arms wide open to us as we ran down their apartment hallway, acting out Wonder Woman while wearing her nightgown set, the magic yellow cookie jar that somehow would always start out empty, but when I closed my eyes real tight and Nana did her magic, cookies would appear. The bedtime stories from the book she won at her 3rd grade spelling bee and has since given to me. My favorite was about the 2 sisters who fell into the well, and the time we had to drive home 5 hours from a bridal shower in Michigan while my mom, not feeling well, slept in the back. My then 85-year-old Nana stayed awake with me the entire time in the front seat, regaling me with stories of her childhood. And Nana loved everyone. From the time I was young until this day, all of my friends refer to her as Nana. In fact, I'm not even sure most of you knew she had an actual name until now. She treated every one of them as if they were her own. Like the time Josh's friend Mark said he liked the 3-bean salad she served at a meal. And the next time he visited, she gifted him with a 4-gallon jar of it from Costco. My Nana and Papa created a family with love at its core. Nothing was more important than that. Even in her most recent delusional state, when she would be somewhere else, likely talking to family and friends who have already passed, if I said, I love you, Nana, her response would be, oh, sweetheart, I love you too. I love everybody. I try and live up to the standard she set of loving others and being loved. Oh, sorry. I know I will have been a good steward of her legacy when I am making cookies appear in the magic yellow cookie jar and reading the story of the 2 sisters who fell into the well with my grandchildren. And they love me just as much as I loved her. More than a hot fudge sundae, Mrs. McGillicuddy.
I didn't write this, but I'm pretty sure I'm the favorite grandchild. So. I'm not going anywhere. For those very rare moments that we would talk about getting older, that was always Nana's response. I'm not going anywhere. Followed by a knowing smile and a little laugh. That would be the end of it. Now, of course, I knew that wasn't really true, but it was comforting nonetheless. Nana was such presence in our lives, and I certainly did not want her to go anywhere. Nobody was more loving, more giving, more comforting, more just simply happy to be alive. And to Nana, family was everything. And I was incredibly lucky to be a part of that. From the earliest days, I can remember Nana and Papa were always there. Every birthday, every Passover, every anniversary, every graduation, every special and not so special occasion. There was Nana and Papa. My thoughts are flooded with memories of pool parties and sleepovers at their condominium, and countless lox and bagel meals, and long weekend trips to our house in Michigan. I remember her consoling me when I told her that all my mom made for dinner was either lamb chops or chicken Kiev. And I remember the utter joy she expressed when she found out that Brooke was pregnant. Nana was everyone's #1 fan. And in her eyes, you truly could do no wrong. Everything was just wonderful to Nana, and she meant it. To Nana, every school performance I was in was incredible. And to Nana, the radio show that Dan and I did in high school was the best show on the air. And to Nana, who got me my first job as a chart filer in Dr. Lorber's office when she was a secretary, as she worked into her 80s, even my ability to alphabetize patients' files was simply amazing. I was in high school at the time, just to be clear. As the years went by and Nana was living in Gidwitz alone, I remember the lunches we would have together at her place while she entertained my daughters, Maddie and Emma, with the same toys I played with when I was young. And the countless times she would urge us to eat with her in the dining area, not because the food there was any good, but because she could then show off the one thing she loved the most, her family. Yes, Nana was absolutely a presence. She was a force. Her infectious optimism, her zest for life, her love for all will stay with me forever. And I think Nana was right after all. She might be gone, but she's not going anywhere.
My name is Daniel, and I am Nana's favorite. I didn't write that, I just really felt that. I felt I needed to make it clear. I think this is something that I've always taken for granted, having everyone here and all the family. And my Nana taught me, she taught all of us, how to celebrate the time that we have. I celebrate the times when we were kids, heading over to her house where she had this mixture. I think we called it pistachio goop. It had whipped cream and marshmallows and pineapple. It was something that she had whenever we went over there after Sunday school or a sleepover, and I loved it. And I'm pretty sure she kept making it just for me because everyone else was smarter and they just stopped eating it. And I truly thought about making it to remember her, but I really think I would go into like a diabetic shock with the sugar. So it remains a very special memory. I celebrate the early times, the 7:45 a.m. karaoke singing that only a grandmother would agree to do. During our high school morning radio show, Ben and I would call her up before school started, 7:45, and we would just ask crazy things, and she always agreed. We asked her to sing karaoke, and without a second thought, she belted out Whitney Houston's "I Will Always Love You," simply because her grandchildren asked her to. I celebrate the late times, when I stayed over after working nearby until after midnight. Now, I could have driven the 45 minutes home, but the late schedule was a great reason to sleep over. I woke up to find a handwritten menu on the kitchen table of what Nana would prepare for my breakfast. And although I said I was absolutely fine with toast, that was not good. And Nana felt that the toast was not enough. She offered to make an omelet, French toast. I don't even remember what we ate. It doesn't matter. I do remember sitting across from her at their small tan-colored kitchen table set. She'd ask me what was new. And after I'd answer, she'd smile and say, what else? She just wanted to keep talking and connecting. And I did too. And I celebrate what felt like an exclusive time with Nana and Papa when they came out to visit Stephanie and me in LA before Olivia was born. I remember we walked up and down Ventura Boulevard with both Nana and Papa, stopping into stores, holding each other, talking. And they were both in their 80s. And I was very concerned about all the walking. But I remember Nana saying, no, let's keep going. And another few blocks went by and I offered again to stop. And she finally conceded. But she didn't want to miss a moment of this adventure. She was enjoying the time as much as I was. And I celebrate the time I had with Nana since moving back to Chicago, stopping by Gidwitz on my way to or from work, finding her in the dining room with friends or in her apartment, giving her a hug and a kiss. And of course, that would turn into, take a seat, take a seat. No, it's okay. Mary doesn't, I'm not talking to her anymore. I'm talking to you. Tell me what's new. What else? As a matriarch, she played a significant role in the family. We all should live life like Nana, full, adventurous, surrounded by 4 generations of love and celebrating the time we have together.
My Nana, our Nana. It's a phrase we say with so much pride. Does not feel as sweet on my lips today. None of her grandchildren have known a day of life without Nana, and I don't look forward to a world where that is the new reality. This afternoon, you're all hearing from so many family members with all their favorite memories and special ways Nana impacted our lives. Many of us share the same memories of the song and dances Nana would break into spontaneously, or the immeasurable joy and pride she had for her family. I could tell you about the memory of the train maze and the water toys she kept in her apartment on Maple Avenue in Evanston. A woman already in her 60s, keeping a stash of toys, just so that the grandkids had something to play with. It was at Nana's that I played Pong, the original video game system. Now, I highly, highly doubt that Nana challenged Papa nightly to a Pong tournament. She kept it for her family. How Nana and Papa moved from Evanston out to Palatine, only then to decide that the now 45-minute drive for family was, quote, just too far. So they moved back to Skokie. The time when, after 3 decades, Nana realized that I don't like chocolate or chocolate ice cream. And the next time I stopped by, she proudly announced that there was a pint of vanilla in the freezer if ever I should want it. And now if you knew Papa, you knew that there was absolutely no purpose for anything non-chocolate in that house. The infamous brunches at Nana's place and the way she hosted to the love and warmth you were met with every time you came over. There is not a memory at Nana's that does not start with a huge smile and open arms waiting at the door for the grandkids to run right off the elevator. All our friends knew Nana from all the performances she attended, arriving hours before the curtain, as you've heard, just to be sure to get the best seat in the house. She was always proud of her grandchildren and delighted in telling our friends just how much she enjoyed watching them in the show. One of the hardest memories I have is of the Tuesday before my wedding, celebrating Nana's 98th birthday. She was so vibrant. She was excited for the weekend ahead. And just hours later, she went to the hospital and never made it to our wedding. Aaron and I never got to eat our cake at our wedding night, so we had the caterers wrap it up, and the very next morning on our way home, heading home to pack for our honeymoon, we stopped at the hospital and ate wedding cake with my Nana. She may have not been able to come to our wedding, but she is indeed the only person who enjoyed cake with the newlyweds. Now more than ever, I am so thankful to have that special memory of a woman that I loved and cherished so much. Nana not only impacted our family, but she was also a source of light, love, and singing joy to all those who met her. All of you are here today because Elaine L Bell left an indelible impression on your life in one way or another. All of us will be so fortunate if we have as much influence on so many people at the end of our time here on earth. I am heartbroken that my time with Nana is done. That no longer will I joyfully sing Yidle Deedle Diddle when I can't recall the lyrics. But the song must still be sung. I will find times in the future to declare something as wonderful, because she taught us life is all about joy and finding those very moments. Undoubtedly, those moments are going to be filled with family, as that is what gave Nana the most joy of all. We were the lucky ones, getting the backstage passes to the life of Nana, being a part of the cast, knowing the star herself, and learning how to love and enjoy life without limits as it fills those around you with so much happiness. I never wanted this to end, and I was not prepared to conclude this story. So I'd like to just share with you all the last part of the critic's review of the life of Nana. One of the great accomplishments in the life of Nana is that when more characters are introduced and the cast expands, the stage itself seems to expand with it. It never felt like too much or not enough space, but the room expands, and before you know it, the entire audience has become part of the story. In history, there has never been another leading lady so inspiring, so caring and loving, with such limitless joy and love that we can all relate to and root for. The laughter and love is infectious, and you want to become a part of the cast. Thank you, Nana. Thank you for the best seats in the house, for filling my ears with special love and light. I'm glad that you met and got to know Aaron, that you got to know that I found my lifelong love. And I'm glad that you got to know about Shira. But most of all, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for never sharing our secret that I, in fact, was your favorite grandchild.
I imagine if Nana was here now, she would say to me as she began almost every phone call, "Laura, dear, I know you're busy." I don't think any of us was ever too busy for Nana. As you can see, my Nana knew how to gather people together. Since I moved away, I've visited 3 times, always managing to be here to celebrate Nana's birthday. This past January, we gathered as a family for the first time in 2 years to celebrate Nana's 100th. She always brought us together. She was magical. She glowed, and it rippled through everyone in her presence. And boy, was she sharp. Even in the end, she had her moments. On her 98th birthday, I asked her how she wanted to celebrate her 100th. She told me she wanted to go bowling. I'm so grateful I was able to be with her on her birthday this past January, but there was no bowling. Well, of course, it wasn't her 100th birthday. According to Nana, she was turning 8. And she had that youthful spirit her whole life. She used to say, when she opens the refrigerator door, the light goes on and she gets her 15 minutes. This was usually accompanied by some showy gesture and a twinkle in her eye. That was her light. It was bright enough to hold an audience with anyone. And she welcomed every single person with a warm smile, hands open, arms outstretched, ready to receive. As others have shared, she was Nana to everyone. She wanted to know the details of my social life. She wanted to know about my friends, not because it was the polite thing to do, because she really cared. She always asked how they were doing and where they were in life, going through every single person by name. I had a friend in high school who we called Santa, and it amazed me how she never batted an eye saying his name. That's who he was to us, and she respected that without a doubt. My Nana had the gift of meeting people exactly where they were, as they are. I felt so welcomed and accepted by her because she never questioned what I shared. And she always asked the right questions. A few months after I moved away, I came back to surprise my family for Nana's 97th birthday. She was the easiest family member to surprise because she was blind at the time, so I didn't have to hide or anything. When she realized it really was me, the first question she asked me was, "How's my Willow, my cat?" Every single being who was important to us was important to her. And she made everyone feel special. I felt especially unique in our family when she told me that she and I were the only members of the BBB club, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed beauties. She had such a graceful way of coming in close, holding your cheeks, and making sure you know that you matter. We all felt like her favorite. Because the truth is, she was all of our favorite. She used to look around the family and say she was so wealthy. When I look around and I see Nana in every family member and friend, I know we are the wealthy ones.
My favorite memory of Nana was calling up to our apartment and hearing her voice, so excited to see us. Then when we got upstairs, we would run to her while she stood outside her apartment with her arms wide open, ready for a hug. She gave the best hugs. We would always spend hours there playing with her, listening to stories about her life and our family, and of course, taking a break for snack for a snack in the kitchen, which she was so excited to give us. When I was in high school, I had to interview a family member about their life. I went to visit Nana, and we spent hours upon hours talking about her amazing life. And when I say amazing, it truly was. She always knew my friends, like Laura was saying, by name. She always asked how they were. She even thought one of them worked at Culver's when she couldn't see. She accomplished so much during her long life, things I can only wish to accomplish. I love you, Nana, forever and always.
My name is Olivia, and it's pretty obvious I was favorite. It is absolutely incredible that I knew my great-grandmother for almost 13 years of my life. I am one of the luckiest people on earth to know her. When I was younger, I remember her being one of the most amazing people to be around. I used to visit my Nana when I came in town from California, and she used to tell me secrets like, "I love you more than anyone else," and sing words to a song absolutely none of us knew. And she would tell me not to tell anyone. Well, I would obviously tell everyone around just to hear her laugh. She would react, "What did you just do? I told you not to tell anyone," she would say jokingly, and make everyone else laugh. I would draw her terrible pictures too. She gasped every time and said, "Oh my goodness, this is gorgeous," even if it was just a simple blur to her, or if she couldn't see it. She made it seem so special either way. One of the best qualities of Nana was how she made those around her feel so loved and special. But the truth is, she was the most special to us.
My name's Maddie, and I have a lot of memories of Nana, and I want to share to you one of my favorites. I would always remember coming up to her apartment and her being right there, ready for me to hug her. I'd come in and play with all the toys she had. There was this one man who was this doll, and he would always have a Band-Aid on him. And we would always joke about how he would always need a new Band-Aid, and that bruise that he somehow had would never go away. We would have so much fun playing with that. I have a poem for her that I made in honor of her. It goes like this. Nana, I need it. Nana, nice, a wonderful person, never gave up, always will be in our hearts. She was really special to me, and I will never forget her.
My name's Emma, and I made this butterfly for Nana because I loved her so much, and I can't believe that she made it to 100.
The portion of the Torah which speaks of the deaths of both Sarah and of Abraham is significantly entitled Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah. Jacob's death is described in the Sidra entitled Vayechi, and he lived. The death of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Moses, our teacher, is brilliantly described in the Sidra entitled Vizot HaBracha, and this is the blessing. In these titles, the Torah seems to be hinting to us that just at the moment of death, when our feelings of sorrow are at a height, that we should not focus our attention on the puzzle of death, nor sink deeper into grief. Quite the contrary, we should focus our attention upon life and its blessings. We should look back at the years of life that we spent together with Elaine, as did Abraham when he lost his cherished wife, Sarah. We should look at the accomplishments of a lifetime of love that Elaine lived, as did the children of Jacob, looking back over the life of their father. And above all, we should count our blessings in having shared so many eventful years with our beloved Elaine, and having such a rich heritage of memories of a good, a useful life, as did the children of Israel when they looked back to the blessings that were the life and teachings of Moses. Her family has beautifully captured the essential goodness that was Elaine, and the moments shared are themselves a blessing. This afternoon, we have gathered to mourn the passing of Elaine Bell, but at the same time, we are grateful that there is so much to be said about her life, her accomplishments, and the blessings that she has left to each of us. Born in Chicago 100 years ago to Benjamin and Esther, she was predeceased by her older brother, Calvin. Vayechi, Elaine lived. Such a wonderful childhood. Her mother would take her downtown for piano lessons in elocution, and for auditions. I'm told that she was actually the runner-up for the role of Little Orphan Annie in the radio production. Later, as you've heard, when she opened the refrigerator doors, she would have her 10 or 15 minutes of time in the light. Her father, I'm told, would get birthday cake every Thursday because it's somebody's birthday somewhere. He would regularly buy too much lax and share it with neighbors, nourishing, feeding people. Vayechi, Elaine lived. She met her beloved Bernie when they were sophomores in high school. Elaine, I'm told, let him cheat off her paper. He got an A. She got a B. Apparently, she was not fazed, and they married after attending the University of Chicago together, where she studied English, became a certified teacher. Theirs was a true love story. They were indeed made for each other. Elaine taught for a bit at the lab school and would sub at Andy and Judy's school, but devoted her energies to being mom and caring for the household. Vayechi, Elaine lived. Elaine and Bernie shared more than 71 years together, traveling the world, not ever quite sure exactly what Bernie did for a living. She traveled the world. She raised this beautiful and loving family. She was an ever-present mom, as you've heard, easy to talk to and connect with, a true optimist, even with Bernie's passing, even with her own health failing, losing her eyesight. She always answered with a positive when asked how she was. She felt fortunate and grateful. And indeed, as you've heard, family was her true wealth. Family was everything. There was no such thing as an in-law. In fact, as you've heard, she turned into everyone's nana. It was a true family matriarch, a joyful presence. Vayechi, Elaine lived. She gave so much love to everyone and received so much love everywhere she went, everywhere she lived. She was loved because she knew how to love. She was, as you know, a unique and dynamic person. When she returned to work, she did so as an office manager, as you've heard, in Dr. Lorber's office, which I'm told when she was around was a HIPAA-free zone. Vayechi, Elaine lived. She taught to embrace life, to live to the fullest each day, to never give up and do what needs to be done, and to move through the difficult. She had an open door policy at mealtime. You could always squeeze a little bit closer, saying yes to more people for dinner, holiday celebrations. In fact, everything was an event. Vayechi, Elaine lived. When one has lived such a life as this, one can be grateful that God has granted each of us a heart of wisdom so that we might fill our days with significance as Elaine did. Vayechi, Elaine lived. She was blessed with a heart that loved, a heart of wisdom. Life had significance for her family, her friends, her community. And just as her life was a blessing, so too should her memory continue to be a blessing for all who are privileged to be touched by the love she shared so generously. Vayechi, Elaine lived. Zecher Tzadik Livracha. May the memory of Elaine Bell, a devoted daughter, sister, wife, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and friend always be for a blessing. And to this let us say, Amen. I invite you, if you are able, to rise now for the memorial prayer, El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hametzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, Im Kedoshim Utehorim, Kezohar Mazirim, Et Nishmat Gittel Bat Benjamin Vester, Shalcha Leolama, Bal Harachamim, Yastireha Beseter Kenafav Leolamim, Vayitzror Bitzor HaChaim Et Nishmata, Adonai Unachalata, V'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava, v'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Elaine Bell, Gittel bat Binyamin ve'Esther, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And together we say, Amen. Please be seated.
Friends, this concludes the services here at the chapel. The interment and burial services will continue at West Lawn Cemetery in Norridge. For those of you traveling with us to the cemetery and the funeral procession, please keep your bright headlights and your four-way hazard flashers on at all times. We will be providing cars in the procession with an orange funeral safety sticker to be put in your windshield. As we make our way through the intersections, if the car in front of you goes through the intersection, please do proceed with caution. Feel free to use your horn liberally, but please make every attempt to continue through that procession as we attempt to keep our procession together as we make our way to the cemetery. Following the interment, the family will be together this evening upon return from the cemetery until 8 p.m. at the Tater residence at 333 Wilshire Drive West in Wilmette, and Tuesday and Wednesday from 6 until 8 p.m. Also, the family has requested that any memorial contributions to the Joanne Hirschfield Memorial Poetry Award under the auspices of the Evanston Public Library. And all of that information for both the memorial contributions and Shiva is available in the service folder that you should have received as you came into the chapel. And if you did not receive one, we do have those for you as you leave. And for those of you joining us online, that information is also available on our website. At this time, I would ask for everyone to please rise and stand in place. And for those of you who are going to be serving as pallbearers from the family, the children, the grandchildren, and some great-grandchildren to be assisting, we would invite you to come forward as we escort the casket, the rest of the family, and the rabbi from the chapel.